Last summer brought us Sonic Mania, a wonderful title from some fine indie devs. It was easily the best Sonic game since the glory days of the Genesis, and I'd link my review here if YouTube didn't hate me so much. In any case, players that wanted more Mania can now rejoice, as Sonic Mania Plus has finally hit digital and store shelves alike. Plus comes as a $5 DLC to those who bought the original version of Mania, and a $30 physical copy that comes with an art book and reversible cover as well. Most of what Plus has to offer looks and sounds the same. The big new addition here is the Encore mode and two new playable characters, Ray the Flying Squirrel and Mighty the Armadillo. Encore mode features several changes both to the levels and to how the game is played. Instead of picking a character and playing the game, players are able to collect all 5. These are essentially considered your lives, as most times you die, you'll instantly swap to the next character in your current roster. There's also monitors that'll switch to another party member as well, keeping the game fresh and requiring you to play as everyone. It's a nice change of pace and opens up a world of possibility for exploring each of Mania's sprawling levels, but also helps as the timer is disabled. It keeps running, but at no point in Encore mode can you get a time over and have to restart the stage. Encore mode does have palette changes in each level, and while certain objects are replaced to make the stages slightly more difficult, and to accommodate your constantly shifting repertoire, most layouts remain the same. The beginning of the Encore mode kicks off with a short romp through Angel Island, which looks stunning and leaves you yearning for more. The stage that gets the biggest change, however, is Mirage Saloon Zone Act 1. Instead of forcing players through either one of Mania's default acts for this zone, there's instead a new level built from the ground up. Personally, this was a highlight of Plus. The abandoned train yard motif works very well, given that it uses art that was previously created for Mirage Saloon's normal Act 1 for Sonic and Tails, but it's also an excellent layout to get a feel for both Mighty and Ray, both of whom are worth the price of admission alone. Ray plays like your typical Sonic character, but has a flight ability that's almost identical to the cape in Super Mario World. In a lot of cases, it works better than it ever did in Mario World, as the control feels more fluid, and the diving and bobbing will account heavily for your momentum. Despite his adorable and goofy look, Ray is a pretty challenging character to master. Mania's layouts weren't accounting for a character that can fly without any sort of protection, thus making Ray vulnerable when flying. That said, when used properly, Ray can lead to some killer speedrunning, and he's a ton of fun to play. But personally, I'm a bigger fan of Plus's other character, Mighty. Mighty, like Ray, runs and jumps like every other character in the game, but he also has some pretty unique attributes. Since he's an armadillo, Mighty's outer shell is pretty tough. This allows him to bounce over hazards like spikes without taking damage and just barrel through everything at all times. He's also got a stomp move that allows him to either stop dead in his tracks while jumping, or smash enemies in breakable terrain underneath him. Mighty has, in many ways, taken the game's title of being the easiest character. While he can't fly, projectiles and hazards don't do much so long as he's curled into a ball. Mighty and Ray bring a lot of replay value to the core game, but on top of everything, Encore mode features a new bonus stage, a pinball minigame with heavy inspiration from Knuckles Chaotix and Sega Sonic Arcade, the mega obscure games that Mighty and Ray hail from. This bonus game is also where you can recollect characters you've lost, and game continues in the event that you manage to die in Encore mode. It's pretty fun and uses the same sort of polygon Sega Saturn style as the special stages do. Speaking of which, the special stages in Encore mode are completely redone and are fairly brutal. The progression of difficulty between them felt a tad uneven, but the last certainly feels like the 14th special stage in a Sonic game. Namely that it tests everything you've gotten out of these stages to that point. I can't decide if these new levels are that much harder or if I've just gotten used to the others by this point, but judging by the amount of frustration across Twitter and beyond, it seems like these are pretty tough. There's not a lot to complain about with Mania Plus. The competition mode has been slightly revamped to allow 4 players and I believe a few more stages, as well as a proper aspect ratio among each player, but it can get a bit chaotic and unwieldy. You'll also want to make sure that you got a big enough screen, otherwise good luck being able to see. Beyond that, the Plus DLC is fantastic, both in content and price. It's a shot in the arm in a game that didn't necessarily need it, but it's wonderful that it got it all the same. It won't quite scratch the itch of a whole new set of levels, let alone a whole new game, but it's a perfect reason to dive back into one of Sonic's finest adventures to date.